Hey everybody, so in this video we're talking about solving quadratics using the quadratic formula. So here we have our quadratic formula and we proved this formula in a prior video. So if you're interested in seeing that, you can click on that video. Now, one main rule you want to remember when you're solving quadratics using the quadratic formula, the quadratic equation must equal 0. So in my first example here, this is an issue because I have 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. It does not equal 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 12 and I'm going to bring it over here so that my equation can be equal to 0. Now I have 2x squared plus 7x, and then 3 minus 12 is going to give me negative 9, and this is going to equal 0. Now I'm going to solve using the quadratic formula. So one thing that may be helpful is to come through. What I always tell my students is write out your A, your B, and your C values. Now, when you're doing this, the sign that's in front of the coefficient stays with the number. So here, A is positive 2. I have a positive 7 for the B term. I have a negative 9 for the C term. These three numbers are what I'm going to use inside of this formula. So to start, we have negative B. So this is a positive 7. So now we're going to say this is a negative 7 plus or minus the square root. And we have b squared, so we have 7 squared, minus 4 times the value of a is 2, times c is negative 9. This will all be over 2 times the value of a. So here I have 2 times 2. Now we can go through and simplify. So I have negative 7 plus or minus the square root of. Here we can do most of this on our calculator, but we know 7 squared is 49. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 9 is going to be positive 72. And then here I have the 49 plus 72. That's going to give me 121. And this, so here we have the square root of 121, and this is all going to be over 4. Here, the square root of 121 is 11. So here we have negative 7 plus or minus 11, and this is all over 4. So now my solutions will be negative 7 plus 11. So negative 7 plus 11 is going to give me positive 4. Over 4 is going to give me 1. And negative 7 minus 11 is negative 18. And negative 18 over 4 is going to give me negative 9 over 2. And these will be my two solutions to this quadratic equation. All right, here let's look at this one. Here our equation is set equal to 0, so that is a good thing, but we are missing the b term. Okay, there's no x value here, which is fine. When you're solving this, you're just going to have to remember that everywhere you see the b, we're going to plug in 0. So we're still going to go through the same process. A is 3. B is going to be 0. C is going to be negative 12. And these are going to be my numbers I will substitute into my quadratic equation. So I have negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c. This will all be over 2a. So now we have plus or minus the square root of negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Negative 12 and negative 12 is positive 144. And so here we have positive 144 all over 6 minus 12 over 6. So here our answers are going to be positive 2 and negative 2. All right, let's try a few more problems where we're probably not going to have perfect squares underneath our radical. So here in these problems, remember, we want this to be in standard form. So I'm going to take my x squared and go ahead and move it over here and take my 8x and bring it over here. So I'll need to add 8x squared, or excuse me, I'll need to add x squared to both sides, and I will need to subtract this 8x, and it'll come over here. Now I have 2x squared minus 8x plus 3 equals 0. And now I can write the values of my coefficients. So here we know that a is 2. We know b is negative 8. We know c is 3. I'll take these coefficients and plug them into my quadratic equation. Now on this example, our b coefficient is negative. Our formula says negative b. This means we want to take negative 1 and multiply it by whatever the value b is. So here I'm still going to take that negative from the formula and multiply it by the value of what b is. So this does not mean negative b. This means take the b value and multiply it by negative 1. So make sure you're remembering to do that. So we have plus or minus the square root b squared. This is negative 8 squared minus 4 times a times c. And this will all be over 2 times the value of a. So here we can simplify. We're going to have positive 8 plus or minus the square root of. Negative 8 squared is 64. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So we have 64 minus 24. So it looks like this is going to be 40. And this will all be over 4. Now, depending on what your teacher would like, if they want the most simplified solution, you are going to have to simplify the radical here. So that's going to give us 8 plus or minus, this is going to be 2 root 10, and this will all be over 4. Now, this always seems to confuse some students. I always tell my students, do not ever simplify the 3 numbers unless all 3 numbers can be simplified by the same number, right? Let's see how many times I can use number in a sentence. So let's say this number 2 were not 2. Let's say it was 3. Then what I would have is students would say, oh, well, 8 over 4 is 2, so this is 2 plus or minus 3 root 10. You know what I mean? You can't do that. You can't just simplify these two. If you simplify at all, you must simplify all 3 numbers. Now, in this problem, all 3 numbers can simplify by 2, so I will do that. So here, my answer, 8 simplified by 2 is 4. 2 simplified by 2 is 1, so this is just 1 root 10 all over 4, which is 2. Now, students will look at this and they'll say, oh, the 4 and the 2 can simplify, so now this is 2 plus or minus root 10. That is not true. This 2 goes to the 4 and to the root 10. So if you simplify it again, you would have to say 2 plus or minus root 10 over 2, right? And this throws students off, so I always tell them, don't do that. So I always have my students look, are there 3 numbers here? No, there's the 4 and the 2. Now when I say are there 3 numbers, I'm talking like in this situation here, 8, 2, and 4. Do you see a number here, a number in front of the radical, and a number on the bottom? No, we don't, okay? You're done simplifying. Don't do that anymore. Just leave it like this and call it a day, all right? Because this is our simplified answer. Okay, let's look over here. Again, we want this to equal 0. So I have 4x squared minus 7x plus 2 equals 0. And now I know that my a value is 4, my b value is negative 7, and my c value is positive 2. Again, b here is negative. This doesn't mean b has to be negative. It means take whatever your value of b is and multiply it by negative 1. So I have negative times negative 7 plus or minus the square root of negative 7 squared minus 4 times a times c. and this is all over 2 times a. So here we'll simplify this. Negative times a negative gives me a positive 7 plus or minus the square root of. Negative 7 squared is 49. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. And negative 16 times 2 is negative 32. So I have 49 minus 32, and that's going to give me 17. And this will all be over 4 times 2, which is 8. Now here, 17 is a prime number. There is not a value or a perfect square that can divide evenly into 17. So here we are finished. These are my 2 solutions. Now, if your teacher wants you to write them out, I didn't do it in this example, but I'll do it in this one. Here we would say x equals 7 plus the square root of 17 over 8. And then your other answer would be 7 minus the square root of 17, and that would all be over 8. All right, and these would be your 2 solutions. Okay, that's going to be all for this video. I hope that you found it helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and we'll see you all in the next video.